Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoro.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. Oh, let's talk markets, the virus, everything that's going on. Went down a lot of the conspiracy holes last night. Is it a virus? Is it a fake? Is it blah, blah, blah? Clearly, the hospitals in New York and all that are not filling up. So clearly there's some lying going on about the numbers. Um, will they fill up? And who will they be filled up with? If you want to go deep down the conspiracy side, truthfully, I don't want to go there. There's 100 different conspiracies. Whoever's right and whoever's wrong, it does not matter. You should be hardening your body for the potential that this thing is going to come to the town near you. Now, I do think, obviously, I've been saying for a long time, I think it's real. I don't know about the death count. I don't know about it. It is starting to level off. Still rising. I'm talking about the U.S. In China, nobody knows. I do think it was incredibly brutal in China. I think absolutely. It is coming out that there are many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of deaths. Tens of millions of deaths, hundreds of millions. Nobody knows because China has been in lockdown. Nobody's telling the truth. I do know that. That's the reality, is nobody is telling the truth. Not the Trump administration, not the Democrats, not the media, not China, not Italy, not France. Everybody's got an agenda on this one, and it is an insane world, and there's no way you're going to figure out what's really going on. But there is something you can do, and that is fortify your body with all the things I've been saying. Liposomal vitamin C, vitamin D, C60 if you have it, all the things we've been talking about. Yes, you should be wearing a mask and gloves everywhere you go. Because if it is real, the more exposure you get, the more it breaks down your system. It's not the kind of virus that you get it, your body produces the antibodies, it kills out the virus, and then your body's full of the antibodies to kill the virus, and you don't have a problem. That's not the way this baby works. So the more you're exposed to it, the more likely you're going to end up with it. And that was seen from the deaths and the contraction of it through the doctors in China and probably in the U.S. If it is as bad in the U.S. as they are touting it to be, I don't think it is yet. But there are other things I can say for sure. Number one is the transition out of the old system to the new system is baked in the cake. There is no way to reverse this. There's no way to reverse go back to the way things were a month ago. As in no way. It is impossible. So many jobs have been lost. So many businesses completely destroyed. And so much market rigging, so much of everything is going on right now. The only thing we can be assured of is the new system after this shit shakes out is going to be much different than the old system. The old way of life, the nanny state for the U.S., is gone. And we can, when after the crash, when this thing is all settled and done, and we're trying to pick up the pieces, the question is, where are we going to turn? Are we going to turn to the government? Probably, for a lot of it. There'll be no jobs in banking, no jobs in insurance, no jobs in this, that, and the other. But there'll be new jobs, rebuild the infrastructure. What do you think that's all about? The destruction of massive amount of jobs, oil and gas, massive amount of jobs, and then voila, all of a sudden Trump has all kinds of new jobs for people. Because the old way is not going to go back. It's over and done. They manipulated it, artificially held it up for way longer than its lifespan. Like decades longer than its lifespan. And we will be changing our monetary system. I have no idea, and nobody does, how that is exactly going to work out. I do not believe in the smooth transition. Why? Because it leaves the same amount of relative wealth in the hands of the same people. And you can't have deciders. Oh, you get to have money and you don't, and you don't. You're rich then. You were rich then, so you're going to be rich in the future. And then what do you turn to socialism, where everybody gets exactly the same thing and nobody works? So there's a lot of things to work out. Nobody knows the answers. If anybody tells you they know the answers, sorry, Ben, you don't know the answers. The people who are telling you what they're telling you they don't know the answer either. The Fed didn't know the answer back in 1981 when they wrote the original Road to Ruta comic books. And they still didn't know the answer in 2007 when they redid those comic books. That's the good guys behind the Fed, the good guys behind Q and all that. They didn't know because this has never been done before. It's all well and good that there's another great idea. We're going to soak up all the bonds of the USA and then we're going to blah, blah, blah. Doesn't get rid of the $2 quadrillion, $3 quadrillion derivative problem, which is going to destroy everything we've ever known about what our system used to be like. And that will destroy the bond market, the U.S. Treasury, every central bank. That's the end game. Is that little nuclear derivative bomb was set on purpose by Alan Greenspan in the late 1990s when they took away all the regulation around derivatives. He knew exactly what was going to go on. The banks would use it, abuse it until it implodes everything. So anybody telling you, like the Nesra people and all that shit, it's not real. It's like a handful of people have that idea. Maybe Steve Mnuchin and Donald Trump have that idea. The reality is we've never been through it. We've never been through a global fiat monetary system implosion, ever. So that's my take. I love Ben to death, but he keeps saying, I'm going to show Bix Weir how this is going to work. I haven't seen it, Ben. You keep telling me that the derivatives are going to be soaked up by the back system. And since you've been saying that, the derivatives have doubled. And the U.S. Treasury is soaked up, a couple $100 billion with the bonds or $1 trillion with the bonds? That's nothing. In that time frame, the amount of derivatives has gone up hundreds of billions. So there's no soaking it up. It just ain't going to happen. And same with you Nesra people. I've been hearing about Nesra. I studied Nesra back in 1999 when that concept first came out that we're going to, jigger the system so that the rich aren't so rich and the poor aren't so poor and everything's going to work out fine. And I mean, I've heard so many plans over the 20 years I've been doing this, and none of them will work because they all require deciders, an individual or group of individuals deciding what the rest of the world's going to do. And that's where I worked out really well. The only thing that can happen is the derivative bond goes off and takes out everything. And then it's a question of how do we reboot the system? That's when the people are going to have to vote and decide, do we want to go to a socialist system? Will we want to go to free capitalism? Will we want something in between? How will we reallocate money to the people? All those questions that Ruta asks in the Road to Ruta Teacher's Guide. Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, Stephen DeVoe, Alan Greenspan, Arthur Burns, the whole crowd, and Rocky. Don't forget Rocky. All right, so global coronavirus cases approach 1 million as economic toll mounts. We're not going to have a depression. We're not going to have a recession. We're not going to have a V-shaped recovery. We're going to have a destruction of everything. It's the only way. Obviously, you can see how it happens now. Another month, most people are out of a job. And that's what's going to happen. By the way, it is a great time to make that switch over. Kill the old dollar because everybody's stocked up on food. Everybody's staying in. It's a great time to arrest the criminals. It's a great time to release the kids that are being held captive. It's a great time for a lot of things. And the bad guy sees a great time to take over control of the world. One world government and all that bullshit. That ain't going to happen. But in the meantime, people are trying to keep this stock market going and all that. Trump, just horrible lie. He told, his lies crack me up. Trump says Saudi and Russia will cut production after MBS call. President Trump said he expects Saudi Arabia and Russia to cut oil production by about 10 million barrels, trying to get the price of oil up because all the oil companies and all the banks that finance the oil companies are bankrupt. With $20 oil, it could go down to 9, could go down to 0. In some areas, oil is at negative, meaning it costs more to store it than it costs to buy it. Put a bin in those areas, you put a bin in at $1 a barrel, and you're going to get a hell of a lot of oil because they got to get it out of their storage area. So Trump says Saudis and Russia will cut, and then 10:45 this morning, shortly after the market exploded higher on Trump's tweet, which also sent oil soaring by a mind-blowing 35%, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said in a text message that, quote, Russian President Vladimir Putin has not spoken to the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and hasn't agreed to cut oil production to boost prices. Quote, no, there was no conversation, Peskov said when he was asked about the tweet by President Trump saying Russian Saudi leaders had agreed to cut oil output and boost prices, which appears to confirm what we said below. Additionally, Bloomberg's Javier Blas notes that the official statement from Riyadh is far more measured than Trump's declaration that a cut of up to 15 million barrels is coming. All code word, Saudi version. This is what the Saudis say. The statement from Riyadh is far more measured. Call for OPEC plus meeting with the aim of seeking a fair agreement. All code words from the Saudis for a deal to include cuts from every nation. Trump is trying to save the market at all costs. I'm surprised, Jamie Dimon didn't come out and say this, or Steve Mnuchin, or Larry Kudlow's. Trump usually sends Larry Kudlow out to verbally boost the markets. It's all a game, my friends. Yes, the takedown of the oil price is part of the road to rooted destruction. And not only the oil price, but the housing and commercial real estate market, which is all happening right now. Read the rooted documents. It's so amazing that document was written in 1980. First published in 1980 by Deborah Carpenter Beck. Turned into a comic book in 1981 by Stephen DeVoe with a teacher's guide at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. And then redone and released on January 1st, 2007, right before the 2008 crash, with big red exclamation points. You gotta look at it. You gotta understand it, because that gave the playbook of how to destroy the system. It did not. It did not. And nobody has come up with a great way to reboot the system. There will be no smooth landing. Obviously, I hope that's obvious to everyone. There will be no smooth landing. But there will be a destruction of the old system, and we're going to have to reallocate flowers or money to the people, probably using Social Security balances. We'll see. We'll see soon enough. This is all happening in year zero, which is right now, 2020. Amazing time. Hang in there, though. Hang in there best you can. If the coronavirus thing is a fraud, like Snippy says, that's a glorious day for humanity. If it's the real thing and lasts for 5 years, 3 to 5 years, as Cliff High's data has it, that is a really rough road. But a road we're going to have to go down, and you better prepare yourself physically if you want to even participate with humanity as you go down that road. Because the coronavirus, as they're reporting, is one deadly mofo. And we will find out soon enough, right? I mean, for me, I'm waiting for, the confirmation for me will be someone I know or someone very close to me, a family member, is coming down with coronavirus, so I can see how harsh it is and whether or not they make it. That will obviously tilt me one way or the other. I do have friends in the healthcare industry working in hospitals. I've got them out searching for all these, hundreds of people, hundreds of thousands of people. It will be in the end who are sick and in the hospital on respirators and all that. They've yet to come back. Nobody's working on that front line. They hear stories. I have heard a story that there's 100 people on respirators in Oakland at the Oakland Kaiser, where I was born. But that's just a story from someone who works at Oakland Kaiser. And I said, get me visual proof. I'm not saying take cameras, because they don't let you have cameras. That's the other question. Why? Yeah, I don't know. But for me, I am operating as if, yes, I'm telling my whole family, I'm telling everybody, prepare yourself that it is the real deal, and we're going to be dealing with it from 3 to 5 years. When you think about it, because data is right already, 100% right. It is the largest chaotic sun disease that planet Earth has ever seen. So his data was 100% correct. Whether or not it is real, it is whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The data still nailed it, because the data measures change in language. And this is his data going back from the 1990s. And definitely the language has changed around planet Earth. And his data says 3 years we're going to be dealing with this. There'll be 3 waves. So if Snippy's right and this is all a con and somebody's making this shit up behind the scenes, you're going to be still dealing with it for 3 years with the same language coming out. It's getting more intense next year. I don't know. I'm waiting patiently. I'm doing everything I need to do, and I hope you guys are too, to get your body where it needs to be. If you have someone you personally know who's in there fighting the trenches, send me an email. Of course, I can't believe you full on until I experience it myself. When I know of people who are in there or who are suffering through this, even people who die, then I can confirm that it's as bad in the U.S. as it was in China. Until that, China, I think it was extremely bad. But we'll find out. We will find out. Supposedly peaking in 2 weeks here, 2 to 3 weeks. Clearly, the lockdown is working because we're not having the doubling every 3 days anymore. So that's great. So keep it up. And when you go outside, wear a mask, wear gloves. Both if you probably have it right now. You just don't know it because you're asymptomatic. It doesn't mean you're not contagious. You are contagious. So you should be wearing a mask and gloves. And it helps you for the dust particles that latch onto the coronavirus and the ill winds, as Cliff called them in his reports years ago. Ill winds that blow. These things can stay airborne, I hear, for 2 hours. When you're walking through the supermarket, yes, you're breathing the shit in. That's why you keep taking your chaga, keep taking your vitamin C. All right, enough harping on that. So here's now the flood for the little people. The businesses are going to get small business loans that they got to repay or default on, truthfully. And that's all starting. And then the people get bailed out after that. $1,000, $200, something like that. That's going to go nowhere. Nowhere. Are people going to use it to pay their credit card bills? No, hell no. Don't give it to the banks. Pay for rent? Well, in California, they declared you can't get evicted while this is going on. So I don't know. It doesn't absolve you of your rent payment or your mortgage payments, but they can't kick you out. So, rush for $350 billion in small loans starts Friday. Banks have questions. Details such as lenders' responsibility to evaluate borrowers remain unclear. Not as simple as we hoped. They can't roll out a program overnight and say, okay, you qualify for a small business loan. Road to Ruta could go for a small business loan. Why not? If they're going to forgive them, especially. A day before small businesses can apply for forgivable loans for the $2 trillion financial relief packages, bankers say they are still struggling to understand how to make these loans eligible for a government guarantee. Under the there we go. Forgivable loans to the banks, probably. Under the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program, part of the stimulus package signed into law last week, in response to COVID-19 pandemic, lenders would make available as much as $350 billion in government-guaranteed loans to cover 8 weeks of payroll and other expenses. Business owners can begin applying on Friday for the loans, which are forgivable if they keep their workforce largely intact, and use the loans for eligible expenses such as rent and utilities. What could go wrong, right? Many details of the program remain unclear, which is complicating efforts by lenders to gear up for what is expected to be an onslaught of prospective borrowers at the end of the week. Among what leaders say are the unanswered questions are how much due diligence of borrowers is required and whether they will be able to sell these loans to create liquidity. So they're going to throw them into derivatives. See, the banks need liquidity. They're not going to give out loans unless they can flip them into the derivative markets and I guess, have the Fed buy those too since they're buying everything else? As a community bank, we want to support all the small businesses in our communities, said Gene Hewlett, Chief Executive of Maine Community in Bedford, Maine, which has about $950 million in assets and has received inquiries about the loan program from more than 300 small businesses. But we need to wait for the lender application form so we know what we have to provide in terms of documentation and procedures, he said. What a cluster. This whole thing's a cluster. Anyway, yeah. Wait till they start handing out checks to, you see a billionaire got a check for $1,200, and someone who's poor on the streets didn't get a check for anything because they haven't, paid any taxes. It's gonna get ugly before it gets better. It's gonna get ugliest, not uglier, but ugliest. The entire system has to crash before it can ever get better. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. Jobs in the banking industry are never coming back after this. Never. Jobs in all kinds of industries are going to change. Who's going to go to a restaurant when this thing turns around? No, they're going to be saving their money. And they're going to be eating the food they stocked up for the long winter, right? A lot of my friends and family work in the restaurant, food service, alcohol business. They don't know what the hell they're going to do. And I've been trying to coax them along not to expect the future to be the same as the past. Get yourself some silver, get yourself some cryptos. By the way, if I haven't told you today, get yourself some silver, get yourself some cryptos. If you want silver and don't know how to do it, send Andy Scheckman an email, andy@milesfranklin.com, milesfranklin.com. He does have some inventory. I'm not sure what he's got in inventory right now. If you want cryptos and you got over 10 grand, call Perpetual Assets. Talk to Will there, perpetualassets.com. They can get you cryptos in your pocket. And if they can't get you cryptos right into your hands, they will give you your money back. And do not have anybody store your metal or your cryptos for you. Nobody. No third party. And if you want to do it in your retirement account, you can also call Will there, Perpetual Assets. They'll set you up in a self-directed IRA. Self-directed IRA where you hold your assets in your own possession. You are the manager of your LLC. It's a little tricky, but they do all the paperwork for you, and all you got to do is get your assets from where they are, do a rollover to your new LLC account, and then voila, you're the manager of your assets. You can't spend them just like you can't spend. You can invest them, but you can't spend them for yourself. Will can explain all the details. It's just like a regular IRA, except you're the one holding the assets, not Schwab, not Fidelity, not whoever you go through your current IRA people. So definitely one of the best things I've ever done. So many Road to Ruta members have gone through Will and Gus at perpetualassets.com to set this up because they want their assets in their own hands. They know that if the banks go down, all the 401ks are dust if it's not in your own possession. They run off the banking system, the fiat money system. So check it out. All right, that's all I got for you. Hang in there, hang tough. The world is changing. I have no idea how it's going to change, and nobody does. There is no plan for a smooth landing either. I'll guarantee you that. But if you're sitting there with silver in your own possession, gold's fine. You just won't make as much as you would off silver. And cryptos in your own possession, there's nothing more you can do. So just relax, get yourself some dried food, learn to plant a garden, although expect a very short growing season, like 30 to 60 day growing season. This summer is what Cliff's data had. So people might be starting gardens and say, oh my God, the only thing I can plant is radishes because I only have a few weeks of growing season. So keep that in mind, hang tough, and join the Road to Ruta if you're excited about getting behind the hood of the car, under the hood of the car, and analyzing the Federal Reserve and what's going on right now. I will be posting another Year Zero update later today for private road members and Patreon Plus. I'll talk to you later.